amigos, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, my name is Maddie. This is Jordan. We are an American couple who in January of 2018 decided to sell everything that we owned to start traveling through Mexico. We've been traveling across the country now for almost 2 years, and recently we decided to expand our travels to other places in the world. That is what led us to
Barcelona. After putting out our video about things that shocked us about Barcelona, we got lots of questions about how much things cost there.
What did 1 week in Barcelona cost?
So we're going to start off this video by talking about how much a week in Barcelona costs, and then continue by comparing that to a couple popular destinations in Mexico.
Also, we got a flood of comments asking how on God's earth did we get $180 round trip tickets to Barcelona, considering most of the time those type of tickets cost like $500 or $1,000 or even more than that sometimes. So by the end of this video, we are going to share our little trick that we found to get those tickets, so make sure to stick around.
And since we're working with several different currencies in this video, for the sake of simplicity, we're just going to put everything in US dollars. Pretty much all the money we spent in Barcelona was on 4 things: cell service, restaurants, transportation, and lodging.
So after our insane days of traveling to get to Barcelona, we got to the airport where there was no cost for the visas, us coming as US citizens to Spain. Then our first priority was getting cellular service, since our Mexico plans don't work over there. For 2 SIM cards and an exorbitant amount of data for a 1-month package, that was the smallest package they offered, that was $55 US.
So before we got there, we asked our Airbnb hosts what's the best way to get there from the airport, and they said the Aerobus. So it's a bus that goes from the airport pretty much all over the city, I think. Each way, $13 for the 2 of us.
Beyond that, we took the metro once, so 2 tickets were $5
Total?
$5 total. Other than that, we walked everywhere. We specifically chose a rental that was in a central location so that we could walk, but we were trying to sort of pinch pennies any place we could. Boy, oh boy, did I have blisters on my feet from walking so much.
They were huge.
It was like the worst blisters I've ever had, but we did save money, so there's that. This next one is the biggest category, what we spent the most money on while we were in Barcelona, and that is food and drinks and coffee and water and snacks. While we were there, we were dealing with the worst jet lag of all time. So that was a huge contributing factor to us eating only 2 meals a day. The other part was, of course, food is freaking expensive, and we just like couldn't afford to eat 3 square meals a day, I guess you could say. So to start off with, we would have breakfast, and those meals, which included a coffee for me and a juice or a smoothie for you, in addition to our breakfast plate, averaged $26 per day.
And then our other meal of the day was dinner, and that was the most expensive thing. It averaged to $35 a day.
You were often getting a tea with your dinner. I was often getting table wine, which is one of the cheapest things that you can find in the entire city. And if we ever felt like we needed a little something extra, we had a snack that we would buy from a local store or something like that. That averaged to about $4 a day. Also included the water that we bought, to like potable drinking water.
Oh.
I know.
Is that what you
it's
think?
Alaska saying hello. And these costs, by the way, are us sort of like bargain shopping around a little bit, like going from restaurant to restaurant, getting an idea of what the prices are, and choosing some of the lower end ones. Like, we realized that the Gothic Quarter is a very expensive area, so we weren't just going to the first place we found.
Yeah, we went to quite a few restaurants, looked at the menu, and was like, nope, can't afford that.
We're out of here.
So in total, over the course of 7 days, we spent $455 on food and drinks,
averaging $65 a day.
So our next biggest expense was lodging, and we stayed for 6 nights for a total of $428, which works out to just over $71 a night. So what do you get for $71 a night?
Well, we looked at hotels at first, and those were really, really expensive, so we went over to our favorite good old Airbnb. And what this Airbnb ended up being was one room in a shared apartment with a total of 4 rooms, everyone sharing one bathroom. It reeked of human urine and gasoline, or who even knows what else. The most shining feature about it was that it's in a great walkable location, and for the second half of our... I'm not even going to get into the fact that we were given the wrong room at first, but for the second half of our week, we got the cool balcony where we could people watch.
Which we were supposed to have.
We were supposed to have the entire time.
But yeah, so $71 a night gets you a very low-end Airbnb.
Please don't ask for the link. It's not in the description. We're not going to share it with you in a comment. This listing was terrible. We do not recommend it at all. Airbnb, we do recommend. This just happens to be probably one of the worst that we've ever stayed at.
Yeah. And based on the hotels we were looking at, to get a decent hotel in the location we wanted in Barcelona, you're looking at $200 to $250 a night. You can get cheaper, but you have to get away from the
desirable areas,
yeah, exactly.
The tourist attractions and whatnot. As we're traveling, we are very thankful these days that we have a VPN when we're on Airbnb Wi-Fi and public Wi-Fi, because it is so easy for someone to swipe your data, swipe your passwords, get your bank account information. Your data is not safe otherwise. There's one that we particularly recommend, and that's going to be at tangerinevpn.com.
And we like to watch things like US Netflix while living in Mexico, so a VPN protects us and allows us to do that.
Whether you're a traveler or you just want to keep your information safe, we definitely recommend getting a VPN. Our favorite one, again, is going to be at tangerine.vpn.com. Since we're affiliates of this company, if you follow that link and sign up, we will get a portion of the sales. So thank you, because that helps us continue producing videos just like this.
So our total expenses in Barcelona were $969. That does not include the cost of getting there, but that's everything else, every last dime that we spent.
Ouch. And you might notice that we didn't pay anything for tours or attractions. That's because we knew this was going to be an extremely expensive trip, and we wanted to sort of cut costs wherever we could. So for instance, when we went to Parque Güell, the park with Gaudi's architecture, and it's a huge tourist attraction in the city, we could have paid 10 euros each to go inside the center to see all of the buildings and everything there, but we ultimately decided we want to spend our money elsewhere, and it's already getting to be a pretty expensive trip, so we forewent those things.
Yeah, and then there was the option of like that double-decker city tour bus, and that was almost 30 euros a person, I think.
Some of that stuff gets pretty pricey. It's pretty comparable prices too on Airbnb. You can have experiences, you can take Airbnb experiences, and those were generally upwards of $50, more like $80 to $100 to $200 a person.
So how is a one-week trip to Barcelona going to compare to expenses of going to somewhere in Mexico for a week? Well, it's an entire country, so we can't really compare a city to an entire country. So we selected 2 cities for specific reasons. One, Playa del Carmen, because it's a very popular tourist destination, and it's one of the most expensive cities in the country, as is Barcelona in Spain. And secondly, Guadalajara, because it's a colonial city like Barcelona is, so there's a lot of similarities, but it's about the average price city in Mexico.
If you're enjoying this video so far, please be sure to subscribe to our channel so you can see more travel videos that we create.
And be sure to stick around, because pretty soon we'll be telling you how we got flights to Barcelona for so cheap. This is how to get cheap flights anywhere.
First up, cell service.
So if you're coming to Mexico, this is going to be the same no matter where you're going. So we have Telcel, and if you want to get Telcel for 2 people, that's going to be $18, and that includes 2 SIM cards.
Next up is transportation. To get from the Cancun airport to Playa del Carmen, you're looking at $22 for 2 people, one way, $44 total. And since everything in the heart of Playa del Carmen is highly walkable, you don't have any other transportation costs because you'll be walking everywhere.
In Guadalajara, you can actually use Uber,
Yay, Uber.
Our favorite. And for your ride to and from the airport and your rides around town during the week, we estimate that's going to cost about $55.
Guadalajara is a huge city, so for the purposes of our example, we have you staying in Colonia Americana, which is a very popular neighborhood to stay, very close to Avenida Chapultepec, lots of bars and restaurants. It is walkable to an extent, but you're probably going to want to check out other things within the... Don't you interrupt me, Laska. Probably gonna want to check out other things within the city, which you will need Uber or some other form of transportation. Ubers are incredibly cheap in Guadalajara. Seriously, such a great feature. So we would estimate that you'd probably take about 2 rides per day. Laska!
Laska!
Sit. Good girl. And come here, people gotta see you. Oh, this was not ideal. Ow.
Next category is restaurants, food, coffee, and drinks. In Playa del Carmen, we're going to be spending about $15 for breakfast and coffee, $30 for dinner and drinks, and $2 a day for snacks.
That equals $329 for the week. In Guadalajara, you're looking at $10 a day for 2 people to eat breakfast. Usually this is actually a breakfast paquete or package, which includes coffee, juice, fruit, bread, way too many things to eat.
Love that about Guadalajara.
Me too. For dinner, you're looking at $13 for 2 people, and that includes a drink, and we included about $2 a day for snacks and water.
For a total of $25 a day in Guadalajara.
And that equals $175 total. How about lodging? For both of these cities, we again used Airbnb to make it comparable. In Playa del Carmen, you're looking at $155 for 6 nights in a desirable part of the town. In a desirable part of town.
Like we stayed at in Barcelona, this is a lower end Airbnb, but I still think it's going to be nicer than the one we stayed in.
Pretty much anything could be.
Guadalajara has the cheapest lodging of any of these places, and for 6 nights in a desirable location, you're looking at about $104 for the 6 nights.
Now for the totals.
$969 in Barcelona.
You'd be paying $546 for the week in Playa del Carmen.
Or $352 for the week in Guadalajara. So not counting your airfare, let's say you have $1,000 to spend on your vacation. What's that going to mean for you going to these various cities?
Well, in Barcelona, if you, like us, want to stay in the Gothic quarter, close to many attractions and where it's bustling, lots of things happening, you really don't have that much wiggle room there. You're going to have to look at some of the lower cost restaurants. You'll have to stay in a rental as opposed to a fancy hotel or even a nice Airbnb. There's not a whole lot of extras that you can squeeze in with that budget.
Compared to the $969 in Barcelona, you're looking at about $550 in Playa del Carmen. So if you have a $1,000 budget, going to a place like Playa del Carmen instead, that's going to give you $450 in spending cash to take tours, maybe splurge on a meal, go snorkeling.
Go on excursions, check out cenotes, take the ferry over to Cozumel, buy a bunch of souvenirs. Literally, almost literally, go crazy.
The point is, it opens up a lot more options for you.
And how about in Guadalajara, the cheapest of all of these cities? It's about a third of the cost of going to Barcelona.
Yeah, so you're looking at $350 to get the basics, and then you have $650 in extra spending cash. I don't even know how I could possibly spend that much in Guadalajara.
Yeah, you would probably get a really, really nice hotel wherever you wanted in the city. You could take Ubers all day long. You could buy as much food and drinks as you wanted until you were bursting at the seams. You could go on a whole bunch of tours. And tours in Guadalajara, they're not that expensive. You could probably even branch out from the city. You could go to the town of Tequila nearby. You could take the Herradura Express. Still one of our favorite experiences.
Oh, yeah, and we're going to link to that video for you. It was amazing. You should do it if you go there.
But looking at these 3 places, and just thinking about our experience in Barcelona and how much we paid, I personally have a list of at least a dozen places that I would recommend in Mexico over going to Barcelona, even beyond the cost, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, there's so many places in Mexico where you have tons of colonial architecture and lots of history. So if that's the appeal of Europe for you, you can find a lot of that in Mexico. so many cities, from Guadalajara, Mexico City,
Guanajuato,
Puebla, Morelia, like there's tons of them.
Thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. As promised, we are going to share with you how on earth we got these $180 round trip flights to Barcelona, and that is, drumroll please.
We don't have to do all kinds of searching for good flight deals. We just go to Scott's Cheap Flights and sign up, and they send deals to our inbox.
Simple as that.
That's how we got this. We were getting lots of emails to Europe. Oh, here's one for $350. Oh, here's one for $300. Oh, here's one for $180 round trip. So we booked it.
This video is not sponsored by Scott's Cheap Flights, and we're not affiliates. We don't get anything, but now you can get cheap flights like we got. If you enjoyed this video, please send it to a friend who you think might enjoy it as well. Consider subscribing to our channel if you like this video and you want to see additional travel videos that we create.
Be sure to check out the end screen. We're going to link our Guadalajara playlist. We lived there for a while and made a ton of videos. We highly recommend that city.
And if you like the cost of living there, you might want to learn more about it. It's very charming in many ways. Gong that bell if you want to be the first to be notified the next time we upload a new video.
You have an ice pack.
Oh goodness.